Did you know that six-pack muscles, as much as aesthetically very pleasing, they are not that essential to bracing and creating stability through the torso and the lower back? But obliques, that's another story. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about abdominal obliques, muscles located through the side of your torso. And the name comes from the direction of the fibers. They go diagonally like hands in pockets. What roles, apart from aesthetics, they play? So guys, I've done a bit of research on this one just to pick out the most important bits of information. So let's dive right in. Oblique abdominal muscles, we refer to them as side abs. We've got external obliques superficially, internal obliques below, and then innermost layer, this is your transverse abdominis. We're really focusing on the external layers today. External obliques originate from the lowest 8 ribs, from rib 5 to rib 12, wrap around the belly and travel to the front towards the belly button. They insert into linea alba, which is that connective tissue line in line with the belly button, and also pubic tubercle and anterior half of the iliac crest, which is the pelvic bones at the front. So just based on orientation of the fibers, you can tell then they help with flexing of the spine, so doing a crunch or curl up movements. They also help you with side bending as they move the right ribs to the right pelvis, but also they work to rotate you contralaterally. So your right oblique, this side, will be working to rotate you to the left, and your left external oblique will work to rotate you to the right. Now, the deeper layer, the internal obliques, because the fibers are going perpendicularly, so they're actually going this way through the side of the abdominal wall, they will be going perpendicularly to external obliques. They're much thinner, and they actually work as synergists. They help with trunk flexion, stabilization, creating that corset around the belly. Internal obliques, in fact, originate from the thoracolumbar fascia, right? So the connective tissue through the lower back, around the lumbar spine, anterior 2/3 of the iliac crest. So actually, the internal obliques have attachment to the pelvis. Now, during dynamic movements, so think of weightlifting, whether those are free weights or barbells, but also running or jumping, they stabilize the spine and the pelvis. Because imagine when they contract isometrically and they don't change in length, they maintain the same distance between the ribs and the pelvis. So they won't let the ribs flare or pelvis to go anywhere. The rib cage will stay stuck over the pelvis, creating that nice corset around the midsection. That obviously a role of deeper abdominal muscles too, and your pelvic floor and your diaphragm. Stabilization of the spine and pelvis and the rib cage is important to prevent injury. So when you're lifting, when you're deadlifting or you're squatting, you can maintain really strong lower back. And Stuart McGill talks about this a lot in his book. He says the following, quote, "The obliques, together with transverse abdominis, form a containing hoop around the entire abdomen, with the anterior of the hoop composed of the abdominal fascia and the posterior composed of the lumbodorsal fascia. The resulting hoop stresses and stiffness assist with spine stability." External obliques also take part in forced exhalation. So when we're breathing out forcefully, this comes handy when we are lifting heavy weights or doing dynamic movements. Let's look a little bit more at the studies. So actually side plank with straight legs with knees off the ground would be a little bit stronger for your external obliques. Prone position is a good alternative to supine position exercises for recruiting core musculature. So you don't have to just do sit-ups, okay? You can do planks and side planks. You can do asymmetrical loading of the trunk like suitcase carry to actually work on your obliques. Let's move on to the drills. Those are my top drills for external obliques. All right, guys, first one, forearm plank rotation. So basic forearm plank, which again saves your wrists, easier to maintain shoulder stability. You're basically combining prone position where external obliques are already firing, and we're adding a bit of rotation to involve also the internal obliques. So again, I'm not rotating very far. You don't need to touch the ground with your hip. I am keeping here lower body as one unit with feet together, and I'm on my toes with heels up.
Second drill, also a plank, long side plank, so with knees off the floor. So you can simply start with side planks and learn how to hold it for longer. Now I'm adding a little progression. I'll be adding side bending because obliques are also involved in that movement of the torso. So little elevation, lowering of the pelvis, and I'm inhaling to lower, exhaling to lift. Just be mindful of your shoulders. The movement can be very tiny or it can be bigger depending on what you're feeling. You can do variation with your forearms on the ground or with straight elbow like I'm doing here, which gives you a little bit more space and allows for more range of motion. Drill number 3, side teaser, or this is a variation from Pilates teaser where you're just doing a curl up. In this one, we are tilted like 45 degrees backwards. So you would actually start in a side lying position and then use your bottom arm to help you come up. It's like a V or pike position or V sit position, but on one butt cheek. So you find indentation between your hip bone and your sit bone, and you're basically settling on that buttock. And that works into flexion and side bending. I like to do full movement, so going all the way down, stack the shoulders, hips, and then crunch and twist. So my left hand reaches for my left foot in this at this point. You can bend your knees, which makes it a little bit easier for the lower back and hips. And I like to always finish with little pulses at the top to make it a little more spicy. And next drill, unassisted trunk rotation. Some people call it wood chop if you do it at the gym. I'm simply using a medium resistance band. I am in a split stance to challenge stability of the pelvis a little bit more. And I'm simply rotating and reaching up a little bit. Again, this is great stability exercise, good for pretty much everyone. Now, final drill, side bending in half kneeling. For this one, you may need to have decent movement at the hips. Use cushions below the knees to protect kneecaps if necessary. Okay, we are incorporating side bending and we will be working against gravity. So notice how I'm first starting with a stretch, then I'm bringing my hands to the head to add a little bit more load to those obliques. I'll be working on the top side, which is lengthening or contracting eccentrically as I'm lowering my chest. And it then contracts, the muscles contract as I'm moving up. I am not returning all the way up to a vertical position because I don't want to relax. In fact, I'm only returning about 80% of the movement. So start with a stretch, see how far you can go, because QL muscle, your quadratus lumborum in the lumbar spine, is also involved. So if you're a little bit weaker, this may feel a little bit challenging. You may feel the lower hip, the glute medius, right? You may feel a bit of cramping even because you are in abducted hip position. So don't be surprised if you feel these. If this is too much for your knees or hips, try this variation. You can use a gym bench or a Swiss ball and simply perform side crunch.
So guys, that's it for today. Hit the bell to subscribe for more content. We will talk more in future videos about abdominal wall and bracing. I guess if you're really working on your abdominals, you may want to strengthen your hip flexors. You can learn more about hip flexors over here. Now, in the meantime, look after yourself, keep doing your accessory work, and see you soon.